welcome back to Alan's Horror World. My name is Alan. Of course, you guys already know that. Welcome back to another review. I'm sorry for the delay on this video. This video was supposed to come out on Friday the 13th, but I got distracted by something going on, and I wasn't able to review it in time, and I didn't want to have to stay up to the early hours of the morning editing this thing, so I decided to wait until today, which is when my Scream 5 review was supposed to drop, so I'm going to have to push that back till tomorrow, and I'm going to have to push my review of Friday Part 3 back until Monday. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to do that. But it's okay, I'll manage. I'll manage it. So today we're not reviewing a Scream movie until tomorrow. We're not reviewing a Scream movie. We're gonna go ahead and just jump into the Friday the 13th franchise, and we're just gonna go ahead and do it with a review of Part 2. Let's go ahead and get started. So Friday the 13th Part 2 stars Amy Steele, John Furey, Adrian King, Marta Kober, Walt Gorney, Bill Randolph, Stuart Charno, Steve Dash as Jason, and is directed by Steve Miner. This was one of 2 films directed by Miner, as he would go on to direct Part 3, making him the only director to film 2 movies in the franchise, so I actually think that was pretty interesting. The second entry in the long-running horror series focuses on a group of teenage would-be counselors converging on Camp Crystal Lake for training under the tutelage of head counselor Paul Holt. Paul Holt! Inevitably, Paul relates the story of Jason Voorhees, a boy who ostensibly drowned at the camp and whose mother murdered a group of counselors in revenge. No one takes the tale seriously until a very much alive Jason begins gruesomely eliminating people. So, if you're wondering, guys, Adelaide, why is there no review of the original movie? I already have reviewed the original movie. I reviewed it just over 2 years ago. You can find it on my channel, and I will make a playlist of all these reviews later on down the line. Probably even after this review goes up, I will go ahead and start making a playlist for all these reviews that you can check out on my channel. So today we're reviewing Part 2, one of the most popular entries of the franchise, probably because this was the first one to feature Jason as the killer, because as you all know, in the first movie, Pamela Voorhees was the killer, which was like a big reveal. It's not a twist, it's a reveal, shut up. But this is the first one with Jason, but this would start the trend of literally all these movies being the exact same over and over and over again for the rest of the entire franchise, except with the exception of a few that we'll get into later on down the line, like way later. So my plan for this franchise is to do 2 reviews a week. Normally I would want to do it on Mondays and Fridays, but for Part 2 I'm reviewing it today because I wanted to, and Part 3 will be Monday, like it should be. But Part 4's review will be on Friday. No, it won't be on Friday. It'll be on Thursday instead of Friday, because this coming Friday I'm graduating from high school. That's the reason why. So my review of Part 4 will be out a little earlier than normal, so don't worry about that. It's just because I'm graduating and I don't think I'll have time to do that review because it's going to be a big day. So hopefully you'll be looking forward to that. And of course, tomorrow you'll be getting my review of Scream 5. And hopefully my ranking of all 5 films will just be a short little video. But anyways, let's go ahead and get into my thoughts of Part 2. So this movie was released about 10 months, almost 11 months after the original. And well, actually, almost a year after the original. But yeah, this didn't make as much money as the original, but it was still a successful movie. People loved it, and they were demanding for more, and then they did Part 2, and then Part 4, Part 5, Part 6, but yada, yada, yada. We all get it. We all know how this movie went. This movie is often regarded as one of the best of the franchise, and possibly the best of the franchise, competing with Parts 4 and 6. Where do I fall on this camp? It is one of the best ones. I won't give away where this falls in my ranking, but I really love Part 2. I think it's a great sequel, and there's barely anything wrong with this movie, to be completely honest. There's barely anything wrong with it. Like, I can only think of 1 or 2 things that kind of make the movie, like, fall a little bit in my ranking for me, but, like, not too much. Like, it's in my top 3. I won't give away where this falls in my ranking. I won't give away where this falls in my ranking.
Bruh, look at this dude.
But there are just, like, a few tiny little nitpicks I do have with it, but it's nothing major. And there's nothing I actually dislike or hate about this movie. So let's go ahead and get into my positives of part 2. First off, I actually prefer the suspense in this movie over the suspense in the original. The original is actually one of my favorites of the franchise, but I prefer this one because of the suspense. The suspense is built up way better, and mostly because you actually like the characters in this movie, and unlike liking the ones in the original. Because the original ones are not all that interesting, and as I'll get to later in this video, the characters in this movie are more entertaining and are more likable. But the suspense is far better. You barely see Jason throughout this movie. He only pops up in the third act. And because that's the first time we actually do see Jason. So it's kind of crazy how this one was the first one to have Jason instead of the first movie. But I prefer the suspense in this movie far better. It's built up better, and the jump scares are actually effective. So that's a good thing. What in the world was that noise? Probably the cats next door, so please ignore that. As I was talking about in my last positive, secondly, I really love the characters in this movie. They're really memorable, like Mark and Jeff and Sandra and what's his name? That's his name. And a lot of the characters in this movie are great, and especially you gotta talk about Paul Holt. Paul Holt! I really love the characters in this movie. They're very entertaining. They have funny moments. They're fleshed out way better than the ones in the original. And overall, I just really like them, and it's kind of sad when they end up dying in the end. Next, the score in this movie, while not topping the score from the first movie, it's really good. There are so many cues of music in this movie that I think is some of the most memorable parts of the soundtrack in all 12 movies. The soundtrack in this movie is really memorable because it's Harry Manfredini. He's going to make a memorable score every time he does a movie. He'll always deliver great scores, kind of like John Carpenter or Charles Bernstein. He will deliver a great score in every movie he does. But the one in this movie is really memorable. There are parts of the score that I do prefer over the original, but you can't beat the classic theme from that first movie. But I really love the score here. Next, Ginny is top 3 final girls ever. Ginny is one of my absolute favorite final girls. She's capable, she's smart, and she's really strong. She can hold her own against Jason, and she has so many great moments throughout the third act of this movie that put her on a pedestal above all the final girls. She's up there with Laurie Strode and Sidney Prescott. She's up there with them. She's even up there with Ellen Ripley, for God's sake. She's a great final girl. She fights back pretty hard against Jason. Alice fought back against Mrs. Voorhees, but not as much as she should have. But Ginny really fought back against Jason, and Jason is more physically intimidating and stronger than Mrs. Voorhees. Mrs. Voorhees is just some regular middle-aged woman. Jason is a superhuman killing machine who is way stronger than a minuscule Ginny, and she still holds her own. She kicks him in the nuts at some point. She fights back with a chainsaw, and of course, gotta talk about the third act of the movie, where she literally puts on Pamela's sweater in Jason's shack and tricks him into thinking that she's his mother, which does work briefly, but then she does make a mistake and he realizes, this isn't my mother, I gotta kill her, blah, blah, blah. But that's a really memorable scene. It's one of my favorite scenes in the entire franchise. Talking about the third act, the final jump scare, I think it was a dream, 100% a dream, because I'm pretty sure it's confirmed in part 3, even though we don't see it, that Paul Holt survived. Paul Holt! I gotta stop doing that. No, I'm not gonna quit doing it. Dead Meat did it, why can't I do it? God, that was cringy. I need to cut that part out. I think I'm gonna leave it in. Yep, I'm leaving it in. Fifth, I don't think Jason is amazing in this movie, but Steve Dash, rest in peace, did play him very well. He did really great stunt work, even though he injured himself multiple times while filming this movie. When he jumps out at Amy Steele, in the woods, he landed on his pickaxe and broke a couple ribs. When he punches the pitchfork through the door, he hurt his wrists. And during the shack scene, when she has the machete, she swings it at him. First take, she missed, cut his finger, and I heard that he took a trip to the hospital with a fake machete in his shoulder as a prank, and I thought that was pretty funny. But rest in peace to that guy. He is still a great Jason. He'll always be in our hearts as, in my honest opinion, one of the best Jasons. In the final scene of the movie, Warrington Gillette actually plays Jason in that scene alone, even though he claims to have played him throughout the entire movie. No, dude. Nice try. You only left shoot after 2 weeks, because apparently you had a hard time filming your stunts, even though apparently you went to Hollywood Stuntman School. Yeah, cool joke, bro. But I really like Jason in this movie. I much prefer the hockey mask over the potato sack, but the potato sack is creepier. It's a really creepy mask, even though it is definitely a ripoff of the mask in The Town That Dreaded Sundown, which I still haven't seen, by the way. But Jason's great in this movie. He would be better in later movies, but I really love him in this movie. And finally, the kills in this movie are great. Pretty much all of them across the board are great, except the off-screen kills, because why? Unlike the kills of the first movie, the MPAA went hard on this movie and cut a minute of gore from this movie, but luckily, recently, Scream Factory had restored the uncut kills, which, to my relief, they did. I wish I had that version of the movie, but it'll probably be a while before I get a hold of it. But what I've seen is great. Now, Alice's death is, to be honest, like, I don't think she would have realistically died from the ice pick going through her temple, because when you see the uncut version, it comes out through her nose. Now, if it went through her brain, she would definitely be dead, but it comes out through her nose. I think she's gonna survive that, Jason, so, maybe, go through the brain. Maybe. But Mark's death is one of my favorite kills of the franchise. Well, I can't, it won't top the sleeping bag death, but like, it's like top 3 best kills of the franchise for me. I love it. And of course, you got the double impalement kill, which is great. You have Deputy Winslow's death with the hammer through the skull. Rest in peace, Jack Marks. He died about a month or so ago. He was 84. Rest in peace to that good sir. But like, I really love the kills in this movie. Like, although it's not as gory as the first movie, I still love the kills here. Now on to my mixed aspects, to which I only have 2, and they're not that big of mixed aspects. It's just stuff I'm not the biggest fan of in this movie. Jason is really clumsy in this movie. He's like Ghostface from Scream. He stumbles a lot. He messes up in the final act a lot of times when he should have definitely killed Ginny. Like when she's hiding under the bed and she's crawling out. Why would you choose to stand on a rickety chair that can break under your weight, Jason? And it does immediately. He's just like, bleh. No, seriously, that's what he does. It's just so stupid. Like, he messes up so many times when he's trying to kill Ginny. It's like she can't die. It's like she's invincible. But he's really clumsy in this movie. Stumbles a lot, trips a lot, literally gets kicked in the balls at some point. Like, it's almost comical, and I honestly thought it was funny. And finally, my final mixed aspect is I wish this movie could have been just a tad bit longer. It's paced very well. This movie is paced expertly well. But I do wish it were a little longer so that way we could flesh out the characters a little bit more. They're fleshed out well enough, but I do think it should have been maybe a few minutes longer. Not like Jason Takes Manhattan long, but maybe a few minutes longer, about 5 minutes, maybe just to flesh out the characters a little bit, and maybe add the gore and the kills back in, because like that would have been great, but it's not really the biggest negative in the world. Not the biggest, mixed aspect of the world. Okay, I cannot speak today. What the heck? Now on to my one negative of this movie. The ending. I don't think it's a big negative, but I do wish that the movie could have just ended at that last scare. Should have just cut to black right after Jason jumps through the window and grabs Ginny, and like that long shot of them falling to the ground. They should have went to white and faded to black. That would have been a perfect ending, but no. Where's Paul? It's pretty much confirmed in part 3 that he's alive, so I know people are going to be like, no, it isn't. Well, watch Dead Meat's kill count. Yeah, whatever. But I do wish it would have just ended on that scare. It would have been better. That's all I got to say about that. So overall, guys, Friday the 13th Part 2 is a great sequel. Honestly, one of my favorite sequels of horror. It's really great. The characters are really likable. Jason is great in this movie. Not amazing like Ted White or Kane Hodder, but Steve Dash did really good in the role, rest in peace. Ginny is one of the best final girls ever. She can definitely hold her own against Jason. The score by Manfredini is amazing. And overall, I think this movie is just great. It's a great movie. It's not incredible, but it's a great movie, and I highly recommend this movie, especially if you want to marathon all 12 films, which that's kind of a stretch because that would take almost 24 hours to do. But if you want to watch this movie or even the original to get yourself into horror, I highly recommend this movie. I'm going to give Friday the 13th Part 2 an A. So what do you guys think of Friday the 13th Part 2? Let me know in the comments below. Do you love this movie? Do you hate this movie? We can debate about it in replies and everything like that. So let me know your thoughts on this movie, and even let me know where this falls in your ranking of the franchise. You don't have to give me your entire ranking until my ranking of the franchise, but let me know where this falls in your ranking. Is it your favorite? Is it your least favorite? Is it in the middle for you? So go ahead and let me know that down below. So tomorrow, be looking forward to my review of Scream 5 and my ranking of that franchise. And on Monday, be looking forward to my review of Part 3. And Thursday, be looking forward to my review of the final chapter. And then we'll finally be done with this franchise for good, right? Right? So be looking forward to those reviews. Also, go ahead and drop a like on this video, hit the subscribe button, and ring that bell so you get all further notifications for this channel because YouTube doesn't always recommend. So anyway, guys, I guess that's pretty much it. So anyways, I'm Adeline. This is Adeline's Horror World. Of course, you guys already know that. I love all you guys to death. And until next time,